For more than 6 years, everyone said the same thing about Pi. They said it had no utility. They said you couldn't buy anything with it. They said it was just worthless numbers on your phone screen. And you know what? Millions of people believed them. They looked at Pi, saw no Binance listing, and walked away thinking it was all fake. But here's what nobody told you. While the critics were busy complaining online, something incredible was happening in the real world. Something that changes everything we thought we knew about Pi. Right now, at this very moment, shop owners across the world are preparing for something big. They're training their staff. They're printing special codes. They're getting ready to accept a form of payment that most people still think is useless. And the crazy part? They're doing it in secret. They're not making announcements. They're not waiting for permission. They're just quietly preparing for what they know is coming. Hello again, Pi Network Pioneers. I'm your host, Nathan. Before we dive deep into our video, let's greet and welcome my incredible pioneers from around the world. Whether you're watching from Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, United States, India, Philippines, Canada, Kenya, or anywhere else on this beautiful planet, I'm absolutely thrilled to share this incredible news with you today. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you're always in the loop with the latest Pi Network updates. And don't forget to drop a comment saying Pi Network to the moon, along with your country and flag. Let's fill the comments with pioneer pride and show the world how powerful and united our global community really is. So, let's dive right in. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why your neighborhood shop might become more valuable to you than any crypto exchange. But before I reveal what's really happening, you need to understand why this is happening now and why shop owners are suddenly so interested in cryptocurrency when they never cared before. Let me ask you something. Have you ever thought about what happens when you swipe your credit card at a store? You probably think the shop owner gets all your money, right? Wrong. Every single time you use a Visa card or MasterCard to buy something, the shop owner loses a piece of that sale. It's called a processing fee, and it's usually around 3% of whatever you spent. Now, 3% might not sound like much, but let me show you what that really means. If you buy a coffee for $5, the shop owner only gets $4.85. The credit card company takes 15 cents. If you buy groceries for $200, the shop owner loses $6 to the credit card company. If you buy furniture for $2,000, the shop owner loses $60 just for accepting your card. Imagine running a business where you automatically lose 3% of everything you sell. That's not a small problem. For many small businesses, that 3% is the difference between profit and loss. And it gets worse. The shop owner can't just refuse to take cards because then customers won't shop there. They're trapped in a system that slowly drains their profits every single day. This has been going on for decades. Shop owners have hated this system for years, but they had no choice. There was no alternative. Until now. What if I told you there's a payment system that charges almost nothing? What if shop owners could keep nearly 100% of every sale? What if they could break free from the credit card companies that have been taking their money for all these years? That's exactly what's happening, and it's bigger than you think. But to understand how big this really is, you need to see what's already happening in places most people aren't paying attention to. Right now, while you're watching this video, thousands of transactions are happening that the mainstream media will never tell you about. In China, people are buying electronics with Pi. In Nigeria, people are purchasing food and household items with Pi. In Vietnam, people are paying for services with Pi. And I'm not talking about small stuff. I'm talking about cars. I'm talking about motorcycles. I'm talking about major purchases that cost real money. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Pi isn't even on the main network yet. How is this possible? Here's how. People aren't waiting for official announcements. They're not waiting for exchanges. They're creating their own economy right now, today, using what's called peer-to-peer transactions. They agree on a value, they trust each other, they make the exchange. It's that simple. And every single day, this network grows. More merchants join, more people start accepting Pi, more transactions happen. The infrastructure is building itself from the ground up. Shop owners are creating their own QR codes, they're putting up signs, they're telling their customers they accept Pi. This isn't coming from some big corporation making partnerships. This isn't some top-down official program. This is regular people building a real economy because they see the value in doing it. I've seen the photos, I've seen the videos, I've talked to people who are actually doing this. It's real, it's happening, and it's growing faster than anyone expected. But here's what makes this really interesting, and this is the part that's going to blow your mind. The bigger this merchant network gets, the more valuable Pi becomes. And there's a specific economic reason why that's true, which most people completely misunderstand. Let me clear up the biggest misconception about Pi right now. Critics look at Pi and say, if people are using it to buy groceries and coffee, then it must be worth very little. Maybe a few cents, maybe $1 at most. That logic sounds reasonable, right? Small purchases mean small value. But that's completely backwards. That's not how economics actually works. Let me explain this in a way that makes sense. When people use a currency for daily transactions, that currency becomes more valuable, not less valuable. Every transaction, every purchase, every exchange increases what economists call the velocity of money. Think about the US dollar. People use dollars to buy candy bars, and they also use dollars to buy houses. Does buying a candy bar make the dollar worthless? Of course not. The reason is simple. A currency that's used for everything needs to be valuable enough to handle big purchases and divisible enough to handle small purchases. That's why Pi having a high consensus value actually makes perfect sense when you think about it correctly. Imagine 50 million people using Pi every single day, buying food, paying rent, purchasing inventory for their businesses, paying salaries, buying cars, buying houses. To support that kind of economy, Pi can't be worth a few cents. It needs to be worth enough that it can represent real value in any size transaction. This is why some people believe Pi's consensus value could be extremely high, not because of speculation or hype, but because of actual economic necessity. When you have millions of people conducting billions of transactions in a currency, that currency needs to have significant value to function properly. The more shops that accept Pi, the more people that use Pi, the more valuable Pi has to become to support that economy. Now here's where this gets really important, and this is something you need to understand before we go any further. There's a specific reason why this moment in time is different from any other moment in Pi's history, and it has everything to do with recent changes that most people don't even know about.
So why are merchants suddenly preparing to accept Pi? Why now and not 2 years ago? The answer has to do with legitimacy. A few months ago, something big happened that most people missed. Pi achieved compliance with certain international financial standards. Without getting too technical, this basically gave a green light to businesses that they could accept Pi without legal problems. Before this, shop owners were nervous. They thought, what if this isn't legal? What if I get in trouble? What if this is considered money laundering or something illegal? Now, those fears are gone. The path is clear. Businesses know they can accept Pi safely, and that changes everything. Imagine you're a shop owner. You've been losing 3% of every sale to credit card companies for years. You've been watching cryptocurrency grow, but you weren't sure if it was legal to accept. Suddenly, you find out it's totally fine. You find out you can save thousands of dollars a year in fees. You find out there's a network of 50 million people who want to spend their Pi. What do? You prepare, you get ready, you train your staff, you set up your system. That's exactly what's happening right now. And the smart ones are doing it quietly before everyone else figures it out. They want to be ready when the flood comes. Because make no mistake, a flood is coming. When people realize they can actually spend their Pi at real stores, the demand is going to explode. Shop owners know this. They're getting positioned now before the rush. But there's something you need to know before this happens, something really important about your own Pi holdings. And this is where a lot of people are going to make a huge mistake if they're not careful. Now, I need to give you a serious warning. You probably know the story of the guy who bought 2 pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoin back in 2010. Those Bitcoins would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars today. That guy became famous as the person who made the worst financial decision in crypto history. Don't be that guy. Right now, merchants are happy to accept your Pi. They're excited about it. They want to be part of this new economy. And that's great. That's exactly what we need. We need merchants accepting Pi. We need transactions happening. We need a real economy building. But you need to understand something important. Those merchants know what you're holding. They know Pi has the potential to be worth much more than it is now. They're happy to take your Pi today because they're betting on its future value. They're accumulating Pi while most people still think it's worthless. So yes, support the merchants. Yes, make small transactions to test the system. Yes, help build the economy. But don't trade away large amounts of Pi for everyday items. Don't spend your future financial freedom on things you could buy with regular money. Remember what you're holding. You're not just holding a payment method, you're holding something that could potentially change your entire financial situation. The merchants know this. The smart ones are accepting Pi not because they need it today, but because they want to hold it for tomorrow. You should think the same way. Test the system, support the economy, but hold on to your Pi. Don't let short-term convenience cost you long-term wealth. So here's where we are right now. The critics said Pi had no utility. They were wrong. They said merchants would never accept it. They were wrong. They said it was just numbers on a screen. They were completely wrong. While everyone was arguing online, the real world moved forward. Merchants prepared. Systems were built. An economy started growing. The utility isn't coming someday. It's already here. It's happening right now in countries across the world. The shops are ready. The infrastructure is building. The network is growing. We were told to wait for exchanges, for listings, for official announcements, but the people didn't wait. They built their own economy from the ground up. And now we're at the beginning of something that could reshape how commerce works globally. 50 million people with a currency they can spend anywhere. Merchants who can keep their full profits. A system that cuts out the middlemen who have been taking cuts for decades. This is what we've been building toward. This is why millions of people joined Pi in the first place. The future isn't coming. The future is already here, and it's being built by regular people, one transaction at a time. Stay strong, pioneers. The best is yet to come.